What's going on Facebook? What's going on YouTube? I appreciate both of you guys for being here. I want to talk about a bunch of stuff. When I got my papers, that means I'm not playing around. I'm almost never playing around, but I do like to joke. But anyway, when I got a stack of papers, people know it's real. I like to print out articles, data, mainstream stuff, John Hopkins, worldometers.info. I got a lot of stuff, but I want to talk about three countries in particular. Peru, who they say had the world's strictest lockdown at one point, and Peru's actually leading the world in deaths per capita. Look it up. The world's strictest lockdown, according to multiple reports, and also the highest death per capita by far. I want to add India, which got a lot of heat earlier this year. They were talking about India. I want to talk about the deaths per capita in India, and also Israel. We don't, we love our Israelis here. We love everybody, but in general, I don't talk about it often for any other reason besides, they're a huge proponent of the jabby. There's now, I believe, more booster shots there than anywhere else. So that's why we keep talking about that. But they've had more cases than they've ever had on September 1st. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then I also have a few other stories, including how crazy it's getting in Australia. They're becoming full-blown authoritarian. Call it what you want. Some people say they're fascist. Some people say communist. Nazi. People are using all sorts of words. Pick your favorite, I guess, title, but it's getting crazy. It's definitely not a free society or a democracy anymore, and it's getting very, very creepy in Australia. So we'll talk about it. I got a little coffee, so I almost took a nap. I was exhausted. I woke up early, but I was like, you know what? I can't take a day off. I got to be here. So I did my printouts. I did my work, and that's what it is. Thank you guys for joining me. And I want to say something real quick. For my Facebook supporters, anybody who's a supporter on Facebook, we're doing a supporters only live stream. We got already 2,000 people in this chat. That one's going to be at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. So if you want to talk to me with less people, probably going to be 20, 30, 40 people there, maybe more, maybe less. That's the time to do it. I do that once a month. And to people on Patreon that support, I answer all the messages. But with both of them, sometimes I get caught up and I'm a little late. I apologize, but I will be answering all Patreon messages this week. And I'm doing that for supporters only. So before we start, I just want to read a few stories. Some of these are just random. I just wanted to pick them off. So this one, insider paper, but in general, it's USA Today. It says, new China bans sissy men from TV to encourage more masculinity in young men. So that's what China's doing. They say they're our opponent in the world because they're another big country looking to take over America's economy, military power, etc. China is banning sissy men. So as America is promoting sissy men and telling strong men like Joe Rogan that they're horrible people for working out or whatever, you have China doing the exact opposite, saying no more sissy men, no more weak stuff. We need our men strong. And in America, they're like, what's a man? We don't even know what that means anymore. I mean, are you being it's like, so just letting y'all know that's what China's doing. It seems like they're playing to win and we're playing to lose. If this were like a sports game, it seems like they want to win pretty bad. And it seems like we're just like, just fumbling at the 1 yard line, but whatever. This is from Reuters, Reuters World. It says U.S. to help build border facilities on the Tajikistan-Afghanistan border. Most people haven't even heard of the country Tajikistan. I'm not even sure if I pronounced it right, despite being pretty knowledgeable about certain countries. I pronounce things quite wrong often, but isn't that just interesting that we could build borders, our tax dollars, I'm sure. I don't know who's paying for it, but we're building borders overseas, but we can't even build our own borders here. It's racist here, but in Tajikistan, Afghanistan, it's just totally cool. What a joke. I can't believe people believe this nonsense like that. It's so terrible to build things like, okay, don't build any walls. I guess you'll just live in a house with no doors or something. You're like, walls are racist. It's like, yeah, no windows. It's like, oh no, I'm getting wet. It's like, yeah, build a wall over your head and call it a ceiling. These people are so stupid. It's unbelievable. That was one of the first things that woke me up because like you could call it Democrat, liberal, progressive, like activist. Whatever, like I was never that stupid. So when people are like the wall, and I'm like, oh, what about it? They're like, I'm like, you guys, whatever. This is from Atlantic. It says, Australia traded away too much liberty. You think so? Connor Friedsdorf said, how long can a democracy maintain emergency restrictions and still call itself a free country? I want to read what's going on in Australia. This is straight out of the Atlantic. It's really creepy. I mean, I've already reported on it quite often, but people need to hear this. It says, Atlantic.com, people in South Australia will be forced to download an app that combines facial recognition and geolocation. The state will text them at random times Therefore, they will have 15 minutes to take a picture of their face in the location where they're supposed to be. Should they fail, the police department, the local police department, will be sent to follow up in person. So they are making you download an app in South Australia, according to Atlantic, that will force you to download the app. You have to. It does geolocation, which means tracks you, and facial recognition, which means you guys know. You got 15 minutes whenever they want to take a picture of yourself in the location where they tell you to be, the government, I guess. And if you fail to be where they told you to be, they're sending the police after you. This is like worse than China. I mean, I'm not trying to compare different regimes, but I mean, can we take refugees from Australia? I love Australians. I mean, can we take Canadian refugees? There's all these women that follow me and say, no, I'm so scared. I'm in Canada. I'm like, listen, if I were president, we'd be taking Canadian and Australian refugees because I just feel terrible that people have to deal with this crap. I mean, they're getting so authoritarian there. I don't need to read it a third time. You heard what I said. Make sure you check that story out and tell people and be grateful to be in America. And let's never get to that point. How about that, folks? I don't care what politics you like or whatever. Just can we not do that? Can we not do facial location geoscan? Can we pretend that Trump's doing it or something so liberals are against it? You know that big orange guy you hate? Oh, yeah, Trump, he's so scary, right? He wants to geolocate you and track you. Isn't that scary? Oh, my God, I don't want psych, it's Biden or who. It's like, does it even matter? Both sides are so easy to fool. It's like Trump did Operation Warp Speed. I'm the biggest fan. I'm the enemy. And then they flip out the characters like, now I hate it. Now I love it. I'm like, does anybody have any brain anymore? Like everybody's so easy to fool. So can we lie and say that like Mitch McConnell's rolling it out so they all get afraid? Mitch McConnell looks like a turtle and he's rolling out the authoritarian. Oh my God, let's not get the app. Psych, it's the liberals. Okay, then I love it. It's like, no, it's creepy to have to take a picture for the government because they could tell you where to stand or not. This is slavery, folks. I'm not comparing it to slavery of the past or slavery, but the word enslavement, look up what the word slavery means. It's a dictionary word. When you don't have the freedom to travel where you want and the government tells you you have to stand there, take a picture, or we're going to arrest you, you're not free anymore. So I don't care whose feelings are hurt. This is not freedom. This is not democracy. This is straight up authoritarian form of enslavement. It's ridiculous. All right. On to the main story. Gosh darn, I make a good pour over coffee. Let's be honest. All right, this is the Telegraph. This is from last year, but you know a lot of these reports have maintained true. But anyway, it said Telegraph said back here. I'll just for YouTube so you guys can see it. Peru has the toughest lockdown in the world and still ended up with the worst fatality rate. It says we would rather demand crackdowns than accept that we are dealing with something outside our control. So this was last year. They were admitting, despite having literally one of the world's strictest lockdown, Peru had the worst fatality rate, right? So they had one of the world's strictest lockdowns, one of the worst deaths per capita. So I went to worldometers.info. There's a few places. Google has one, John Hopkins with Google. There's worldometers.info. This is Worldometers. You can see it on the sheet. I mean, you can't read it, but you can go, if anybody wants to follow along, use any of those two websites or just Google Peru cases, Peru death, whatever. There's many ways to find this, but I like worldometers.info for deaths per capita because they have a deaths per capita. They have the same data, but you click it and then it'll go from worst to best. So they kind of make it easy. So Peru is currently number one in the world still in deaths per capita. They have 5,919 deaths per capita, according to this. And number two is Hungary with 3,121. So they're almost doing 2 times as bad. And, you know, I'm about to get how much worse they're doing than India and other countries. But in general, this idea that lockdowns are like really, really effective. It's like, okay, well, where's the strictest lockdown? It's like Peru. So how are they? They must be doing the best, right? Because they're doing it the strictest, right? That would be pretty common. Well, actually, no, they're doing the worst. So did they ever stop to stop doing it? Or are they just going to do this forever? Australia, you know, they're doing the lockdown. It doesn't work. They just keep extending it. Maybe I'm crazy, but maybe, just maybe, treating people like slaves, animals, and prisoners and telling them they can't go to events, maybe that's not the best way to defeat a sickness. You know, maybe there's some sickness on earth where that works, but maybe with this one, maybe that's not the solution. Let's look at some other data. This is India, okay? They fear-mongered about India for so long. They said, oh my God, India, they won't listen to us. They won't do what we say. India has 315 deaths per capita. So Peru, strictest lockdown in the world, 5,919 deaths per 1 million population. That's where that number comes from, deaths per 1 million. So India's doing, I think I did the math earlier, like 17 times better or something. They're number 117. So Peru, the worst. India's not even top 100 in deaths per capita in the world. Yet when the news says India, 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 oh my God, people must be dying left and right. What they're not telling you is, oh, they have a lot of cases. Yeah, but how many people are in India? Let's look it up. Let's Google the population. Because if you compare New York City, how many cases are in New York City? A lot. How many are in rural Idaho? Not as many. Oh my God, that proves it's like, no, there's more people in New York City. So you have to do deaths per capita or cases per capita. So India, let's see, population 2021, they have 1.4 billion people in India. So if they have a lot of cases, I mean, they have like what, 1/7 of the world, 1/6. There's a lot of people in India. So if you actually do the deaths per capita, they were scaring the crap out of everybody with cases and deaths, but in reality, they're actually not even top 100 of the worst countries when you scale it for population size. We've done the same scale in America for New York and New Jersey, even though they have a lot of people in condensed areas. We did deaths per capita, and they're still the worst. So, people will be like, well, it's like, well, New York and New Jersey, it's not the same. And they're always like, oh my God, Florida, oh my God, Texas. It's like, what about the top two in the United States? They don't seem to care about it. So just two things I thought interesting, but you could look up hospitalizations, vaccination rate. There's all ways to look at the data, but I just found those fascinating. So let's get to our favorites, Israel. God bless Israelis. It's just whatever your government's doing out there, I'm not quite sure. This is on September 1st. They just hit a record high of cases, 16,629 cases, even though I believe they have over 5.5 million people double vaccinated. They have over, last time I checked, over 2 million people triple vaccinated. They said they have a majority of their adults and elderly. I mean, they have a majority of their entire population vaccinated. At one point, they were the beacon of the world, just showing us how to do it. They're going to reach herd immunity, one newspaper said. They're going to defeat COVID, another newspaper said. It's all in 95% effective, they said. And none of that ended up actually being true. So they could say the science evolved or something, but they don't have good foresight. Some people can see things in the future. Others are just consistently wrong and they blame you about it. That's the experts, aka the bureaucrats, for the most part, that are that corrupt and that, egotistical to get to that position. But anyway, I want to compare because September 1st, 2021, they had 16,629 cases. I always like to compare it to last September because last September, they didn't have vaccinations. Last September, they didn't have booster shots. Last September, they didn't have near the number of vaccinations that they do now. They only had 2,252 cases. So over 10 times as many cases this September 1st than last September 1st. The difference is, there's probably many, but one of them is vaccination rate. It's not going in the right direction. So now they're saying and here's what I'm going to say, folks, because I'm going to tell you what they're saying. They didn't initially say, oh, the efficacy is really low and it just prevents you against severe illness. That's not what they were saying when they were rolling all this out. So they're going to pull a bait and switch now and be like, oh yeah, you didn't always know this. I have articles on my kitchen table that say that you said it was 95% effective. You said herd immunity was coming. And then when it didn't come, you said, well, it's 39%, which is way worse, but it does this. So it's like, this is not what they predicted. This is not what they planned. They lied or they mispredicted it. And now they just have to tell you how awesome it is. So September 1st, 2021, that's, I believe, yesterday. In Israel, there were 43 deaths by COVID, according to the report. Last September 1st, there were 15 deaths. So, I'm no mathematician. I believe it's around like 7 times as many, 3 times, whatever. You could do the math of how many times worse the cases and deaths are. But in general, is this supposed to be like a huge success? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm missing something, and this is just awesome. But last September 1st, this September 1st, yesterday, over 16,000 cases, 43 deaths. Last September 1st, 2,200 cases, 15 deaths. So more deaths and more cases yesterday. I guess that's really successful according to the experts. I mean, nothing proves that it's working really well besides, just having record highs and things that they don't want. But I mean, I guess, according to the reports, it still prevents against severe illness, but everybody has to get a booster shot because I'm not sure, 8 months, 6 months, 5 months. I'm not really sure. I don't know that they're sure, but listen to these people that don't even listen to themselves 3 months ago, because if you don't, you're going to be ousted from society. I wanted to go over this real quick. It's a little bit edgy because they love to censor this stuff and they can't they could talk about it all they want, but if anybody else is. So just to throw off the AI censor algorithms, etc., I'm going to call it the drug that must not be named, aka Ivor blank blank. You've probably heard about it a lot. Brett Weinstein talks about it. Joe Rogan talks about it. I'm going to call it like Lord Voldemort, and I'm just going to call it the drug that must not be named to try to throw off these little AI bots. But in general, this is NPR, okay? I'm just going to read what NPR said. They actually lied. It's crazy because they not only lied about me, but in general, it's like they're so desperate to push an agenda, they can't even tell the truth. And it's embarrassing because I actually want people to actually, I don't really care if people trust them, but it would be nice if we had institutions that told us the truth, but it's not everybody else's fault. It's your fault, NPR. So this is what NPR wrote today. It said, the podcast host Joe Rogan, who has dismissed COVID vaccines, said he tested positive and is taking a cocktail of unproven treatments, including the drug that must not be named, a deworming drug for cows that the FDA warns people should not ingest. So this is in their headline on Twitter. They said it's a deworming drug for cows that the FDA warns people do not ingest. So I went to the FDA website, right? Because they say, question, should I take the drug that must not be named? And right on FDA.gov, it says, should I take the drug that must not be named to prevent or treat COVID-19? And they say no, while there are approved uses for Ivor blank blank in people and animals, they admit it is approved for other things, but don't take it for that. So NPR doesn't say that. They just say, they warn not to ingest it, except for on their website where they say for other cases. I'm not saying it works for this illness. I don't know that. I'm not a doctor. I've never taken it. I would just be going off of secondhand information, but they can't even tell the truth and say, well, it is in other countries, it's approved for this. And in our country, it's used for this, but they're trying to act as if it's never been used in humans. And that's just not true. The guy who made it actually has a Nobel Prize. You can read all about it. It's so ridiculous. It would be like calling water a horse liquid. It's like Anomaly thinks he's so healthy drinking water. I mean, that disgusting degenerate, he just keeps drinking horse liquid. It's like, yeah, horses drink it, but so do also other things sometimes. So it's like, I get that they might not want people to use that. I understand. But in general, it's like, is water like rabbit liquid? Like, yeah, rabbits do it, but there's also other uses. So I'm not saying it works. I don't know that. There's people who swear by it. There's people who don't, but it's such deceptive tactic to act as if this has never been inside a human when it obviously has. Like, yeah, this is horse liquid, guys. I mean, your horse drinks that, so stay away from it. It's like so ridiculous. That's like when they call everybody like Hitler all the time. It's like, well, Hitler drank water and Donald Trump drank water, so I don't know. And it's like, yeah, there's going to be like similarities. Like, he also loved animals and he was a painter. Does that mean George Bush is Hitler because he likes to paint too? It's like, there's going to be overlaps between leaders that you like and don't like, that are good, bad, ugly, whatever. It's like, this is how stupid the media is. And in some cases, they literally lie just to push an agenda. This is why no one trusts you. I don't even have like an attachment to this product because I'm not a fan of the drug that must not be named, Ivor blank blank or hydroxy blank blank, because I'm not like a big drug guy. So I'm not going to sit here and shill for these drugs either because I don't know crap about them and I'm honest about it. However, I do think one thing is true. Do you think corporation that makes tens of billions of dollars, do you think that they'd want a product that is super cheap and efficient and easy to use? I'm not saying it was, it's just a hypothetical. I don't think they would want that. I don't think they would be like, oh yeah, that's fine. That would be like McDonald's realizing it's like, hey, McDonald's, like, I'm not saying your meat's the worst in the world, but it's definitely not the best, and the buns you use, etc. It's not that healthy. It's not the most healthy thing. Does McDonald's just pack it up and be like, oh, well, we're going to stop selling it now. We're going to redirect you to this other cheaper food that's even better. No, they don't do that. Everybody just makes money. So it's like, I don't know what's going on, but I clearly can tell that there is so much money being made. There is so much power being grabbed by politicians, and they have no incentive to ever want anybody to have any other way of doing it besides what they approve, which is apparently now going to be, according to reports, a Pfizer pill. Now Pfizer's making a pill. It's ridiculous. It's so interesting. But anyway, NPR, just stop lying. Just tell the truth and explain your side of the story without making us something that's like provably fake. It's so embarrassing. I wanted to end on this, then I'll answer a few questions, and then I'm going to run out because I do have the supporters only thing. This is Stella Parton. I guess before I talk about her, I should figure out who she is. What is that? Dolly Parton's daughter or something? Let me just make sure, because Stella Parton, her take was hilarious, and I want to talk about American singer. Stella Parton is American country singer. Let me see. Is that her mom or is that her sister? Let me see. Sorry, guys. I can't just talk about her and not know. It says siblings. Okay, I guess she's Dolly Parton's sister. My bad. We love Dolly Parton here. Dolly Parton had some really, really big talent back in the day. You know, I like that one song she has. She has huge, I'm talking huge talent, charisma, voice. I'm talking, full circle, huge talent. And I'm serious. I'm not being sarcastic. She's very talented, Dolly Parton. If you've never heard her music, it's good. Apparently this is her sister. I didn't know, but she had a blue check mark and I found it funny enough to want to talk about. Yeah, Dolly Parton was great. Anyway, Stella Parton, she said, "Don't you find it odd that women in America are being treated worse than women in Afghanistan? We wasted $2 trillion plus to go into Afghanistan to liberate their women and children. Something ain't right here, folks. Are you catching on yet?" And I can't even be mad at this because I actually somewhat agree with her. She's like, don't you find it odd that women in America are being treated worse than the Taliban, than in Afghanistan? And in a weird way, I think she's right. And I feel like I want her to go to Afghanistan. And I'm not even being sarcastic, like, oh, yeah, you go there then. I'm like, no, seriously, I think she should go to Afghanistan. And I think she'd come back a better woman, because I think under Sharia law, they won't put up with all her shenanigans. She'll find out what it's like to really be a woman and really be subservient to God and her husband. And I think she'll come crawling back to America like, oh my God, I had so much free. I didn't even realize. It's like, and I think she'll be a better woman. It's like fasting for a week. It's not pleasant. Food is good, but sometimes you come out a better person. And I'm not telling people to fast, because then someone's going to starve to death and like blame me or something. But in general, it's like, I actually agree with her. I'm like, you should go there, live under Sharia law for a year, and then come back. Maybe, I bet she'll be more disciplined. She'll probably love God more, and she'll be a better person. But in general, it's so funny. A lot of these liberal women, they don't realize like what they have here as far as their agenda, which is like, I don't know, abortion, like just like just yelling at like Governor Abbott. I'm trying to think, what else do liberals like women's march, freedom, hairy armpits, and like just walking around with their nipples out and stuff. Like these things that like liberal feminists like love. They're like, I don't even want to choose my gender. And it's like the only places that you could do that are like America, maybe Israel, I don't know, maybe Canada. I'm trying to think of it. Middle East would not put up with any of that crap. So it's like, I don't even think what they're doing is a good thing. But in general, like everything that they love to do in America would not fly in Afghanistan. So I unironically want to send them there, not to be like, oh my God, you're going to hate it there. I'm like, you might love it there. You might need some discipline, and they have extreme discipline. I bet Dolly Parton's sister would come back a better woman. So I agree with her. It's time to go there. And I think women in America would learn a lot, and they'd come back, and hopefully then we could be like a somewhat Christian nation again, where people are not being so psychotic, like burning down their neighborhoods, hating everybody. I think we need to find a balance, and we've lost that balance. We've gone so far, I would even call it left, authoritarian and perverted and disgusting. It's just like, if you have a sexual preference and you feel that way, I don't think people used to care that much. I always use Queen as an example, because Freddie Mercury was super gay, but maybe more importantly, he was super talented. I mean, Queen is one of the best bands, in my opinion, in American history. I think like Bohemian Rhapsody is a masterpiece. We Will Rock You is epic. I mean, Queen is one of the most epic bands ever. So like, he was talented. He actually did something. So no one really cared. If he was just like, hey, and like didn't do it, it's like, what are you doing? Like, are you like making music, or do you produce something? Or do you like build? Are you like a welder? Do you like plumb? Like, what are you doing? No, I'm just here to be gay. And it's like, people would have been like, dude, that's so annoying. But people like Freddie Mercury, because he was actually really talented. So nowadays, like, I don't know, like Lil Nas X, he's just trying to do the most crazy, wicked thing he could do just for shock value. But it's like, you're no Freddie Mercury. You're no Queen. Like, you're an okay rapper that has nice beats and, had a hit song. And now it's just like a normal industry cat that anybody could be, that, you're doing all this like wicked stuff. It's like, I don't have to pretend to like it. It doesn't make me hateful. It's just like it's over the top and it's targeted at children. And at a certain point, if you go to a young enough child, I think it's kind of abusive because you're like targeting like a very, very young age group with sexual stuff, which is just nasty and wicked. So, you know, they act like nobody can disagree with them, and it's just gone a little too far. I think even for like a lot of people in that community or whatever, like a lot of people are like, you guys are just being like weird and annoying, and you don't build or create anything like Freddie Mercury. Like, do something, do something of value, create something for society, and then you could talk about what I don't know. It's just like leading with that and then not providing any value or something interesting beside it. It's just kind of wicked. But Dolly Parton's sister should definitely go to Afghanistan, unironically, and it would be awesome. She thinks there's some more freedom there. There's definitely not more freedom there, but there is more discipline there, and she'll come back a better woman. Either she'll want to stay or she'll come back and be like, I'm so sorry, America, I didn't mean to. And it's like, it's okay. You got a little crazy. Everyone got a little crazy. Now it's time to buckle down as a nation because China's teaching their men to be strong, and we're teaching our men to be weak. We want to lose. This is America does this form. I'm not going to call it full-blown communism because it's not yet, but we do this era of communism where it's like hate yourself communism. It's like hate yourself, hate your country, hate your body, don't be strong, be weak, and take as many pharmacy products as you can, stand and scream and be like morbidly obese, and then tell like Joe Rogan that he's hurting your health, even though Joe Rogan's like a 55-year-old jack dude. Like, this is not, I'm not saying I'm a fan of communism because I'm not. But if there was a commune, like if I lived on a commune in Hawaii, I would not want to live with liberals because they're like, not like politically what they're doing is like, it's so self-defeating. It's like, at least if everyone liked each other and would try to be strong and contributed, it would work. So that's what America's doing. It's like the opposite. It's like hate yourself communism, destroy yourself communism, be as pathetic and weak and backwards and wicked as possible. China, I'm not a fan of communism or authoritarianism, but what they're doing is like, strong as possible, make the nation as strong as possible, make the guys as strong as possible. They're cutting out all the degenerate, wicked stuff by the force of the government. I'm not saying they're doing it right because I'm not a fan of China, but it's like in America, I'm not an anarchist, so there is supposed to be a government. And since I'm not an anarchist, I'm more of like a libertarian, if anything. But in general, they're supposed to do something. If they're not doing anything, stop taking my tax money. But in general, the things that I think they're supposed to do is like very basic stuff, like thou shalt not murder. I mean, I think the Bible has a pretty good list of things. And at one point we understood that, but like, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder. I think that's like essential for the government to enforce. And China's going a little overboard, but at the same time, they're using government force to take away wickedness. We're using government force to implement wickedness. We're using government force to try to wipe out the people who are against wickedness. Our country's wicked. And this is what annoys me about not just liberals, but conservatives. I'm sorry to be annoyed. Is like everybody's like CCP. And it's like, yes, China is not our best ally. Like they want to overtake us in economy, in strength, in military. China absolutely is competing with the United States. But your own leaders, from Donald Trump to Joe Biden to Sarah Huckabee Sanders to I don't know, Nancy Pelosi, these people are doing more damage to your own country than China's doing. China can only do so much. Of course, they can infiltrate and do other stuff, but in general, it's like your own leaders are betraying you. Donald Trump and the Democratic Party are selling a product that China doesn't even feel comfortable selling to their own people yet. China has yet to release an mRNA vaccine to their own people, but your own party's doing it to you. That's not the CCP. That's your own party. Who's allowing this degeneracy to happen in America? It's our own leaders, our own party. I think the Democratic Party is like the spearhead of the operation. And the Republican Party's like the fake WWE character who pretends to fight them, actually does do some stuff. You got to give it to the GOP sometimes. They do some stuff. But for the most part, they're just like becoming the Democrats from 10 years ago. So if the government, what's her name? Kristi Noem's like, we can't do that. Like, then get out of office. If you can't do anything, just take a seat. If you're an anarchist, then just go sit on a horse or something and let somebody else sit in the chair. If you can't do anything, you're supposed to do something. Stop murder, stop crime, stop wickedness. If you can't stop wickedness in the country, get out of the way. At least China's trying to do that. And I'm not a fan of what they're doing. But if you gave me two options, do you want your government to make everybody pathetic and scrawny and put a mask on your military and make them go on LGBT hikes like it's a freaking, West Hollywood like summer camp or something? Or do you want your military to be like as strong as possible, as fast as possible, and your men to be beefed as possible? I'd be like, well, that one sounds better to me. I love America. I have 0 loyalty to China, 100 loyalty to America, but I would much rather our army be like strong and manly. It's not a freaking like, it's not a summer camp in West Hollywood. Like, I don't know what people want to tell me. I'm a fun guy. Like, I could go to like an EDM festival and I'm not worried about being macho and stuff. I'm not like a big juice head or anything. It's like, yeah, I try to work out and be healthy, but I like to have fun. I like to let loose. Like, it's not like everybody has to be strong, but it's the military. It's not a freaking summer camp. Like, if I go to arts and craft camp, I don't really care how strong people are. But if I look at the United States military, you know, the best defense or the best offense sometimes is a good defense. And the best defense is a strong military, not a weak one. So why in the world would people think it's okay to do this to our military while other militaries around the world are getting stronger, including Afghanistan, who we're arming with our own crap? Like, that's disgraceful. But they've been doing that for decades. Joe Biden's just so dumb. He like publicly did it and everyone sees it now and hates him. But they've been arming. Google, there's an LA Times article that said like one element of our government was arming these people, and then one element of our government was arming these people, and they were fighting each other with our weapons. Like, we've been sloppy as hell. So, you know, I think we need to take a real reflection, and that's my big beef with both sides. The left has just become disgusting, authoritarian, out of their mind, and politically, I have 0 idea what they're doing. Their cities are going to fail. Get away from them. I mean, if you live there, it's fine, but like, I'm talking to my friend who lives in, I'm not going to say the city. I'm like, how is it? He's like, it's not good. Like, there's a lot of crime. There's homelessness. I'm like, I used to live in LA. The smartest thing I did was leave. It's like, it's a different world. It's like living in hell. And then you move to like a normal area. You're like, holy shit, I literally lived in like Gomorrah or Sodom. You know, it's like, it's disgusting. So they're going to fail. But then you go to the right side and everybody's like foaming at the mouth and saying CCP. And it's like, yes, the CCP is not our friend, but like our own government does more damage to us than the CCP could ever dream of doing. Even if you talk about the coronavirus, you know, it was our own government from Trump to Biden to McConnell to Pelosi to Democrats and Republicans. It was our government who printed the money, who locked down, and are still, you know, we still can't function. And yes, you know, the left is partially or maybe even majority responsible, but I'm more disappointed in my own party that I'm a part of, the Republican Party, than I am in China, because I don't expect anything from China. They're not my best friend. They don't like me. They probably don't care if I'm poor and I have to eat bread, you know, 1 time a week to survive. But my own government, my own party, my own military, like, that's what I care about more. And I feel like it's this big dance and nobody's focusing on our stuff. So, you know, I think, to be optimistic and positive before I get to some comments, I do see the progress. I really think people are starting to get it. Even in Texas, you know, I have an unpopular opinion, but they just passed the heartbeat bill. And that to me shows that conservatives and Republicans they're not going to like you. It doesn't matter if you pass a heartbeat bill or you don't do anything. They're never going to like you. They're never going to agree. They're just going to scream and cry concentration camp at the border if you ever put a wall or something. They're going to exaggerate. Like, people are like, oh my God, Donald Trump's Hitler and he's putting concentration camps at the border. They're going to say that like anyway. So it's not to say it's right or wrong. It's wrong that they're saying that. Just do the right thing. So in general, I think, in my opinion, I know maybe some people won't agree with this, the heartbeat bill is a great idea. People aren't anarchists. At a certain point, you have to figure out when something's alive, and when it's alive, you know, you can't kill it. But in general, if people are mad at that, I have a great solution, because I know women that are conservative that don't like it. Here's a great solution. Don't move to Texas. I say start a refugee program. There's a bunch of liberal women and even conservative women that say, I don't want to live in Texas because they're doing a heartbeat bill. I want to get an abortion. Give them money, government money, like a refugee, and send them to Los Angeles, and then send them to Portland, and then send them to Seattle, and then send them to, you know, Washington, D.C. Give them a refugee. I hear you. Yeah, no, Republicans are crazy. I agree. No, the heartbeat bill is insane. No, yeah, for sure. We got to get you out of here. We got a refugee program for you. Here, go to Los Angeles. You can get abortions there. Go to Portland. You can get abortions there. Go to Seattle. You can get abortions there. Go to D.C. I think it's a great way to filter out people who don't agree with you. That's what federalism was supposed to be for. I mean, I think there should be some maybe national laws, but in general, we don't all agree. We should stop pretending like we do. I would rather live in a state that likes the police officers that are good, not the bad ones, but the good ones, has a safe community, doesn't cry and just like throw trash everywhere and act like homelessness is cool, So let's start a refugee program. Any liberal woman or conservative woman that is afraid to live in Texas and doesn't have the money, but I'm too poor. Well, we got a government program. We're going to send you to Los Angeles. We're going to send you to Seattle, and you can go get your abortions there. I think it's a great way to start, splitting up the country in essence. Like, I'm not a divisive person, but I don't want to live in Los Angeles. I've lived there. I don't want to live there. I don't like their politicians. I don't like their ethics. I don't like their morals. I like their oat milk lattes, but I can get them in conservative areas. I like garlic aioli fries and stuff, but I can now get them in my area too. So all the things that I like that liberals do, I can get in other places. All the disgusting, degenerate things they do legally, morally, ethically, like homeless wise, I want nothing to do with it. So it's like they're doing all this crazy crap to their people. I don't like that my friends live there, but at the same time, I don't even care anymore. It's like, just keep it there. Do all that, whatever you want to do in Sodom and Gomorrah, keep it there. Your city's going to decline. It's disgusting. The quality of life is piss poor. Everybody's miserable there. You're treating everybody like shit. You're putting masks on everyone. Stay there. And if people in Texas don't like what's going on, then tell them to move there. They can wear 5 masks and get abortions in Los Angeles. I'm seriously at that point. Like, my area is clean and nice, and I don't want people ruining it, just like they probably don't want me going there and spreading conservative values. So great. That's awesome, because I don't want to go there. I don't even want to see a concert in Los Angeles. Seriously, I had an option to see a big con. I'm like, no, I'll pass. Like, I don't even want to drive through there. It's disgusting. It's like a failed society. So it's time for Republicans to start getting serious. And we don't agree. And we don't need to. We don't all need to like the same music. We don't need to all eat the same food. So it's time for Republicans to start going harder and chasing people away. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, I'm so afraid. All right, we'll pay for your flight out. We'll pay for your stay somewhere else. You print trillions of dollars and steal my money every year. They have money. They could send Tajikistan $1 million. I'm sure they could, resettle some refugees from Texas and put them in liberal areas. I think it's a great way moving forward to start putting people where they belong. And I think, if liberals have these ideas and they think it works so well, let them try it out. I have zero problem with it. No, for sure. I love a good festival where I'm just getting lit and I'm talking to people and I'm having fun. Like, I love it. But when it comes to running a city or a country, certain things need certain discipline. Like, I'm having a blast when I'm at a concert, but I don't act like I act at a concert if I was a police officer. Like, everything's not like a West Hollywood fun camp or something. Like, if you're going out, you're going out. But they think the whole country's like a freaking summer camp. They're like, let's let the military go on, like, and wear masks and play, and like everybody should be weaker. It's like, why? Like, do you not realize that you can't have the same thought process when you manage a city of like 6 million people and there's 100,000 people on the streets, like half of them, doing drugs, like 5 of them have machetes. Like, at a certain point, if you don't have any sort of moral or ethical code, your whole city's going to collapse. So I love the fact that Texas did something that's super, popular among conservatives. Do more of it. Keep doing more. When they have power, don't be like Kristi Noem. Honestly, don't even be like Governor Abbott, because he's half a phony anyway. But, start driving home what people actually want. Don't look at, oh my God, they're going to treat me like this. Is it right or wrong? If it's right and it's good and you have enough support in your state, start doing it. And if people don't like it, it's not like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to get one. Just go to Portland. And if they can't afford it, start paying for them to go there. Seriously, it would be awesome. It's not like they can't get one anywhere. Just get out of Texas. Like, I think it's a great idea. I think the same in my county and my community. Well, I want to do this. Then go to LA. They're doing it there and it's miserable and disgusting. Don't come to my area and do that crap. Seriously, I'm ready to make big moves like that. What do you guys think? Let's read some comments. Benjamin said facts. Ezzy said amen. Someone said, don't West Coast my Texas. I was thinking about the West Coast, the Wild West. Do you remember that? The Wild, Wild West. I need to start wearing more cowboy hats again, because the Wild West used to be badass. You used to have cowboy hats, John Wayne. What happened to that? When did the Wild, Wild West turn into like West Hollywood? And I understand there's a place for everything, but it's like the Wild West used to be super Southern and Western too. I don't know what happened. Now we got overtaken by like authoritarian medical people. It's like, I don't care. Like I said, if you're Freddie Mercury, I don't care what you're doing. Just make something awesome. If you're destroying the city I live in, I don't care how gay you are. It's not like, well, homelessness is rampant and I can't afford gas, but man, I really like the sexual preferences of my transgender health official. Like, that doesn't matter to the average person. Seriously. Like, even funny enough, like Caitlyn Jenner goes on Fox News and most people are like, well, she has a point though. You know, it's hilarious, but it's like, it's like, no one just do something good. Stop destroying everything. No, you know, and hiding behind who you are. It's like, just do something. Like, ugh, so tired of it, but whatever. Someone said those Jefferson State, California. Let me see. Someone said the Wild Wild West is now Brokeback Mountain. You're not wrong, but there's still good pockets. Someone said at this point, I'd rather go live with Bigfoot deep in the wilderness. It's not a bad play. Wild Wild West to Wokey West, someone said. That's pretty funny. Mike said people are crying in outrage because they can't kill their babies. What have we become? I mean, at a certain point, my views have evolved as I've learned more, but it's like, I think a heartbeat is definitely a good place to start. Like, as far as, I don't know, the line, I think, I watched as Democrats said, well, this is what it means, and this is what it means. And then I saw Ralph Northam say, well, if you have a baby and you resuscitate it and it's like, right before birth, and it's like, these people clearly won't stop. It's like they want to go further and further and further and further. So I think it makes sense to put a barrier somewhere. I do. I think it does. And in general, I mean, these people have like lost their minds. I don't know. I think it was a good move by Texas, and I think it draws a line somewhere, because if you don't draw a line, these people don't stop. Like, they've proven that. It's like, well, we can make you wear a mask. We can make you wear 2 masks. We can make you wear 3. We can make you get a booster shot. We can kick you out of your job. Noam Chomsky is now advocating for people to be isolated like criminals and slaves if they don't get a jab. It's like, these people want to do that. I'm not like imagining this in my head. It's like the slippery slope is so clearly real. At a certain point, they're going to look at you and say, well, he's not listening to us, so why don't we just abort him? You think I'm joking. I'm not even trying to be sarcastic or edgy. It's like, well, let's do it at this. Let's not do the heartbeat. Well, let's do this. And then Ralph Northam's like, well, what about if we resuscitate the baby and then we abort it? It's like, resuscitate the baby and then abort it? Are you talking about like after birth? Because that's kind of like always been, even known from abortion activists, as kind of just like killing something that's already been out of the womb. Like, what are you talking about? So these people are so clearly like, they will eventually justify it for us. And I'm not saying that as some like huge religious zealot or nut or anything. Like, that's who they are. They literally don't. They're so mad that Joe Rogan got healthier. They seriously are like, they would rather Joe Rogan die just to make a point about COVID than him survive. Where me, I don't want people to get hurt. I don't care if people got the vaccine or not. I want people to get healthier. I would love if there were 0 cases. These people are furious that Joe Rogan's healthy. They're furious that he works out. They're furious that he got better. They're furious that he took a medication they didn't want him to take. Like, seriously, they're so nasty. Like, at a certain point, if they're not stopped, or if people and governors don't put their foot down, and people at corporations say no to their boss, they're never, it's an escalation point. But I do see I do see the optimism in the sense of I think it's not going to work if enough people keep saying no. Mike Herschel said, no, you're right about my body, my choice only applies to abortions, not vaccine. They only care about control. Well, I think both sides can kind of make that argument. Well, you want choice there. You want choice there. To me, I'm not an anarchist. I don't believe that people should just run around with bow and arrows, but I do believe in, like, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal. I think those are good laws. And I think if you are killing or stealing or murdering or doing any of that stuff, that the government should come down on you. I mean, if you make a mistake when you're young or something, it's like, I think there should definitely be forgiveness and empathy. But if you can't act right in society, I think those are pretty good rules to start. So that's the abortion thing, where it's like, it's not just like, oh, it's your choice. It's like, it's not your choice. Like, you can't just kill. That's why I say with Kristi Noem, she says, well, corporations can do whatever they want. I don't believe that's true. I don't think they could saw your leg off. The CEO of Walmart can't just come out and saw your leg off. He can't do anything he wants. He can't hurt you. He can't violently assault you. He can't force food down your throat. That would be considered assault. He can't force a needle in your arm. Normally, that would be considered assault. That would be considered a violent act, So that's what I'm trying to say to Kristi Noem and even conservatives. It's like, it's not hypocrisy for a libertarian. It's like, unless you're an anarchist, if you're one of these people who are like, zero laws, everybody get a gun, free for all, that's one thing. I don't agree with that political ideology, but I could respect it if someone said that and like, that's how I feel. And I'm like, no, I get it. Like, there are people who feel that way, but this is not the Kristi Noem. She's not a libertarian. Are you kidding me? She's already passed infringing laws. But when it comes to stopping people from being assaulted, she's like, oh, well, we're libertarians. And I think that's where the abortion argument, you have to figure out, and this is a conversation for a moral society to figure out. I'm not the scientific / biblical, judge of this, but it's like, figure out where something is alive, because I don't think people consider sperm alive, and I don't think people consider eggs alive, right? These are separate things, but when they come together at a certain point, it becomes alive. So I think if we actually acted like adults, we'd be able to sit together and say, well, when does it become alive? Would it be at conception? Would it be at this? And I think heartbeat is a more than fair place to start, because it's like, at a certain point, Ralph Northam wants to do it mid or after birth, which is psychotic. And conservatives want to do it even earlier. And I think there's an argument to be had there. But heartbeat, I would think, is a pretty reasonable middle ground of like, well, if it's got a beating heart, it's probably alive, right? So it's not like, they're even allowing you to do it earlier, I believe, in Texas. So I think that's more than a meeting, because I know a lot of, pro-life people on the right wing that want to bring it way earlier than that. So I think that is a compromise, but the liberals will never be happy. They want to do what Ralph Northam probably wants to do. It's disgusting. It is really creepy. If you have to make a tough decision versus if you want to do something like, 16, 17, 18 weeks. I mean, at a certain point, I think we would benefit from discipline in our society, but there has to be a conversation around that, because even a libertarian, I don't think they allow people to just steal and rob and murder. These are not conservative principles, but a lot of Republicans will act that way, right? They're like, well, I don't want to do anything. Of course you don't want to do anything. That's all. You have no problem taking big pharma money. You have no problem taking lobbyist money. You have no problem shilling for the military industrial complex. You have no problem sending our kids to war. You have no problem bombing Yemen. But now all of a sudden you're a libertarian. You're like, well, now I have, like, these people are so fake. And I think it's a beautiful thing that people are catching on. Kristi Noem is not having a good time, and I pray for her because I think she's probably a nice lady, but people are tired of the BS. They know she's a fake libertarian conservative, and she's getting hounded. Rightfully so. I hope it's all peaceful and respectful, but she's lying, and she's not doing anything. So it's like, this is the energy that conservatives need to have. I love it. It's like, holding people accountable and not allowing them to just slither their way out of everything. Someone said they make a lot of money off it. Yeah, I'm sure. All right, I'm gonna hop out in like a minute, but so if anybody wants to chat later, I'm doing a supporters only live stream on Facebook. Anybody that does the supporter thing on Facebook, thank you for the badge and stuff. I appreciate it. We will talk in 2 hours at 5 p.m. or 8 p.m., 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and that's what it is. I'm going to try to finish another video for Friday morning. I've been very busy doing a lot of live streams, a lot of interviews and such. So follow me on Telegram, t.me/streamer or chat. Supporters only. I'll do a live stream in an hour, 2 hours with a few people. Patreon, I'll answer the messages. I've gone through some. I have a lot, and I do answer them. I try to at least once or twice a month. It's just been crazy, crazy busy, and I've been cranking out content so much and doing personal stuff like tax stuff, furniture stuff. So thank you guys for being patient and thoughtful. Appreciate it. And I will be back with more live streams and stuff. But check out, don't take my word for it. Check out the data of Israel. Just Google Israel COVID, and you could see, how vaccinated they are, the cases, the deaths. You can compare from this year to last year. If you go to worldometers.info, you can look at all of the countries in the world. And if you hit deaths per capita or deaths per million population, you could really see like who's doing the best and who's doing the worst. And that's a measure that they don't really talk about. They're like Texas, Florida, but really, if you look at deaths per capita, I believe last time I checked, it was New York and New Jersey and New York. By the way, pray for them. I know there's big flooding there, and it's not being reported because our country is just going crazy with COVID and all this other stuff. Like we used to report on hurricanes and floods. Now it seems like we don't care about our country, so pray for them. But in general, that's what it is. I'm going to go now, and I'll be on for supporters only in a few.